All right, so are you ready to dive into some seriously symbolic territory?
Always up for a challenge.
I figured you would be. Well, today we're tackling Revelation chapter 15.
Ooh, that's a good one. Lots to unpack there.
Definitely. We've got some excerpts from a website called MCS to help guide us. They've got some interesting takes on this chapter.
I'm familiar with their work. They tend to go pretty deep.
They do, and that's what we like, right?
Absolutely. Depth over breadth any day.
Couldn't agree more. So this chapter, it's all about victory. You know, for those who resisted the mark of the beast.
Right, and the whole final judgment thing. It's pretty intense stuff.
Yeah, it doesn't pull any punches. Like right off the bat, you've got that sea of glass mixed with fire in verse 2. Can you even picture that?
Sea of glass mixed with fire. It's not your typical beach vacation, that's for sure.
No, not at all. What do you think it means?
Well, it's clearly symbolic, right? In
Yeah.
the glass, you think of purity, stability.
Mm-hmm.
But then you've got the fire, which, represents judgment, refinement. It's like this juxtaposition of peace and turmoil. Like saying, yeah, things are going to get rough, but there's a purpose to it.
So those who resisted the mark of the beast, they're not just hanging out on the beach sipping margaritas. They've been through it.
Yeah, exactly. They've been through the fire, so to speak,
Mm-hmm.
and they've come out stronger on the other side.
Refined, like you said.
Exactly. Refined. They're not just passively waiting. They're actively witnessing the culmination of everything, this final act of judgment.
And speaking of witnessing, the MCS interpretation points out that the saints are singing the Song of Moshe in verse 3.
Ah, yes. Moses' victory song after escaping Egypt. Interesting choice.
Right. It's not like they just crossed the Red Sea themselves. So why that specific song?
Well, you think about it. Both situations involve this idea of overcoming oppression, right? The Israelites under Pharaoh, and then these folks in Revelation who resisted the mark of the beast.
So even though the circumstances are different, the song still resonates. It speaks to that universal feeling of liberation.
Precisely. It's this timeless anthem of freedom, breaking free from tyranny. It's a powerful reminder that God is on the side of the oppressed, those who seek justice and righteousness, even when it seems impossible.
You know, it's interesting. As the chapter goes on, the imagery just gets more and more intense.
Yeah, John really ramps things up. He doesn't hold back.
No, he doesn't. So in verse 5, we come across the tent of witness, which is another way of saying the Ark of the Covenant.
The Ark of the Covenant. Wow. That's a pretty significant image to bring into this apocalyptic vision.
Right. I mean, talk about, look, why bring the Ark into all of this?
I think it's meant to be reassuring. Even in the midst of judgment, God hasn't abandoned his people.
So even though things are looking pretty dire, this is a reminder that God is still there, working things out according to his plan.
Exactly. It's a subtle but important message of hope. It's all this talk of wrath and judgment, which the MCS interpretation really emphasizes. And I think they're right on that point. It's crucial to understanding the overall message here.
Okay, then it gets even more dramatic. 7 angels emerge from the sanctuary, dressed in pure white linen and gold sashes.
Now, those are some stylish angels, not your average mall Santa angels.
Definitely not. But here's the thing, they're carrying bowls. Bowls filled with God's wrath. Why that stark contrast? Purity and wrath.
It highlights the duality of their mission, right? They're instruments of judgment, but ultimately instruments of renewal. The white symbolizes holiness. The gold represents authority. But what they carry, well, that represents the consequences of rejecting God's ways.
So it's like saying, look, this isn't just about me being angry. This is about upholding what's right.
Exactly. And it underscores the seriousness of the situation.
Mm-hmm.
These angels, they're directly linked to God's presence, carrying the full weight of his authority as they deliver his judgment.
Wow. It makes you wonder, what would it be like to be in the presence of that kind of power?
Humbling, to say the least. John's vision doesn't hold back on the awe-inspiring, even terrifying aspects of divine judgment. It's meant to shake us up a bit.
And make us really think about the weight of our choices.
Exactly. And then John takes it even further. He describes God's Shekinah like filling the sanctuary with smoke.
Okay, hold on. You've lost me. What is Shekinah?
Oh, yeah, sorry, Shekinah. It's a Hebrew term. It refers to God's presence, like his dwelling presence.
Okay, dwelling presence. Got it.
Yeah. It's often manifested as light or fire, like this visible manifestation of his glory, his power.
So back to this smoke-filled sanctuary. What's that all about? Why can't anyone enter?
Well, smoke. It often comes with fire, right? And fire in this context represents judgment. I think the sanctuary being filled with smoke, with this impenetrable smoke, it's meant to emphasize how overwhelming that judgment is.
Yeah.
Like a moment of awe, maybe even fear, a recognition that nothing, not even the holiest of places, is exempt from consequences.
Wow. Yeah, that's pretty intense.
It is. So we've got the Sea of Glass mixed with fire, the Song of Moshe, the Ark of the Covenant, angels with bowls of wrath, God's presence filling the sanctuary with smoke. John is really packing this chapter with symbolism.
He's not messing around.
No, he's not. But I think the MCS interpretation really nails it. It's not just about punishment. It's this complex interplay of justice and mercy, fulfilling God's promises, and ultimately good triumphing over evil. It's a classic story, but told in this incredibly vivid, almost otherworldly way.
It's like he's trying to describe something so big, so far beyond our everyday experience.
I think you're right. He's trying to communicate a vision, a glimpse into the spiritual realm, which is hard to capture with words. So he uses all these symbols and metaphors to evoke feelings and ideas that go beyond literal interpretation.
Okay, so let's talk about the mark of the beast. It keeps coming up in this chapter. How do we even understand that concept today? It's not like we're literally getting branded or anything.
Right, it's not a physical mark. The MCS interpretation, they emphasize that it represents allegiance, choosing to align yourself with a system, an ideology that opposes God's values.
So like what we prioritize, what we give our allegiance to, could be money, power, status, even a belief system. Something that promises security but compromises our values.
Exactly. It's about recognizing those temptations in ourselves
Yeah.
and the world around us and resisting them. It's about choosing what truly matters, aligning our lives with those higher principles.
That's pretty challenging, especially in a world that often seems to reward the opposite.
It is. But it's also empowering. It means we have a choice. We're not just passive, just accepting whatever the world throws at us. We can resist that mark, whatever form it takes, and choose something greater, something more meaningful.
I like that. It's a message of hope, even within this context of judgment. We're not powerless. We have a choice.
Absolutely. And remember, even amidst judgment, there's always the possibility of redemption, of turning back, choosing a different path, aligning ourselves with God's love and justice. Never too late for that.
So these saints in Revelation 15, they faced incredible pressure, but they made a choice. They held fast to their faith, and they found victory. That's a pretty powerful reminder for us facing our own challenges today.
It is. Their story is a testament to resilience, the power of faith, and the enduring hope of a world transformed by God's love and justice. Like the MCS interpretation really brings that message home.
It makes you think, what marks are we tempted to accept? What things pull us away from our purpose, from those higher values we aspire to?
That's the question we all have to grapple with. And there's not always an easy answer. But engaging with these ancient texts, reflecting on their message, their symbolism, I think it helps us navigate those complex choices in our own lives.
So we've covered a lot of ground, haven't we?
We have. Revelation 15 is packed with imagery.
Yeah. The sea of glass mixed with fire. The Song of Moshe. The Ark of the Covenant. Angels carrying bowls of wrath.
God's presence filling the sanctuary with smoke.
It's a lot to take in.
Definitely. John's vision is quite vivid.
My imagination's definitely working overtime.
I can imagine. But that's the power of apocalyptic literature.
Yeah.
Using these intense images to convey these profound spiritual truths.
What I find interesting is that it's not all doom and gloom. There's this undercurrent of hope running through it, even in the midst of judgment.
Right. It's this tension between justice and mercy.
Like that Leonard Cohen lyric, there's a crack in everything. That's how the light gets in.
I love that. It's so true. Even in the darkest moments, there's always a glimmer of hope, a possibility for redemption.
The MCS interpretation really highlights that, and I think it's so relevant to our lives. We all mess up, we all fall short, but there's always a chance to turn things around.
Absolutely. It's never too late to choose a different path.
It's also interesting how this chapter connects back to the Old Testament, with the Song of Moshe and the Ark of the Covenant.
Yeah. Those references are important.
It's like John is grounding this apocalyptic vision in history.
Exactly. It's all part of a bigger story, a story that's been unfolding since the beginning.
So if we were to summarize this deep dive into Revelation 15, what are the key takeaways?
Well, first, I think it's about the power of choice.
We have the freedom to choose what we believe, what we value.
But those choices have consequences. The mark of the beast. It's a reminder that our allegiances matter. What we align ourselves with shapes who we become.
So we need to be mindful of what we prioritize in our lives.
Exactly. What are we giving our time and energy to? Are those things aligned with our values, with God's will?
The second takeaway, I think, is that God is in control,
Even in the midst of judgment, he's still sovereign.
working out his plan.
The Ark of the Covenant appearing during judgment. It's a reminder that God is faithful He will keep his promises.
And lastly, there's this message of redemption.
Even amidst judgment, there's always a chance to turn back, to choose a different path.
To align ourselves with God's love and mercy.
It's a powerful reminder that it's never too late for change.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into Revelation 15, we'll leave you with this. What mark might you be tempted to accept in your own life? How can you resist it? And choose to align yourself with love, compassion, justice.
Thanks for joining us on this journey through Revelation. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, keep seeking truth.